إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه على آله وأصحابه وسلموا تسليما كثيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحم إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. In the Noble Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Surah Nisa verse 65, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Now in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in fact negated Iman for some people. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ, nay, by your Lord. He is doing the qasam on himself and saying, La yu'minuna, they won't have Iman, hatta yuhakkimuka fima shajara bainahum, until they take everything in every matter concerning them, your word, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's word, as the last word. I mean, his whatever things he give, whatever orders he give, they take this into everything concerning them. If they don't do it, that means they don't have Iman. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to say that فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. That means that and then on that decision that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave, on that decision they don't feel anything in their heart, anything bad in their heart about that, and except what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given to them in Salimu Taslima. So, to that extent of Salim. Okay? So that means that if we go to a court concerning any matter and then the court decides against us, we have to accept that, but in reality we'll have something in our mind that might be the judgment might not be accurate or something like that. That might lie in our heart. If that feeling comes when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam decides something, if that feeling is in our heart, we are not mu'min. We won't have Iman. So this is very, very, very important matter. The reason we have taken up this is we came from different backgrounds. Everyone came from different backgrounds. I came from the subcontinental background where the madhab and following the madhab is a big thing and also a contradictory thing in some cases. Now, a couple of lectures before in a khutbah, when I mentioned that I think some people might have not got the word, which I said blindly following the madhab is not the right thing to do. So there is a little bit of a difference following a madhab and blindly following a madhab. There is a big difference actually. So what we are saying and what all the scholars has said before, that it's not wrong to follow a madhab for certain matters. What is the problem is blindly following it. Again, if someone follows a certain madhab because they don't have the knowledge about it, that is absolutely fine until the fact that when a verse from the Quran or an authentic hadith comes from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to them, and then they leave whatever in their madhab and follow what the revelation says, the Quran or the Sunnah. Absolutely fine. But if they don't leave, when the truth comes to them through a hadith, and then they say, no, this is my madhab, I'll have to follow this, then it becomes wrong. It becomes a very big problem. Regarding the madhab, we have 4 different categories of people in the world, basically 4 different ideologies following by 4 different people. Now, the first group of people, what they do, they think following a madhab is a mandatory thing. You have to follow a madhab. That is one group. They think that you must have to follow a madhab. If you are not following a madhab, you are following the madhab of shaitan. So that's they are saying. This is one group. There is another group. They say following a madhab is shirk. If you are following the madhab, you are doing shirk. That is another group. You can probably see the true extremes in here. All the evidences from the Quran and Sunnah stipulates that following a madhab is not mandatory. It has not been mandatory by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Sahabas or the Salaf Salihins. We have discussed this in our previous khutbah. There is a third group. What they do is they look around which fatwa of the madhab suits them best. So if they go somewhere, this thing from Hanafi madhab, they like it, they'll take it. They go to another issue where the ruling of the Hanafi madhab doesn't really fit them very well, and something else fits them, so they'll take it. For example, they give 3 talaqs at a time to their wives, and then they think that, oh, what have I done? They need to go back to the wife, and if they go according to the Hanafi madhab, they can't, because that's talaq al-bayn, already done. But another madhab, they say no, at one go 3 talaqs is counted as a one. So it is beneficial for them, they will go and take it. So these type of peoples, the scholars says about them that these are the people like fatwa shopping. So you go to shop fatwas from different madhabs. So I can see that is also not the correct ideology. Number 4, the group or the people or the ideology is you can follow madhab, you can go to the scholars. However, when there is a certain different fatwas, differences of opinions, you go back to the Quran and Sunnah, and on the basis of Quran and Sunnah, whichever seems the best, you take that, and that is the correct approach. Now, there will be lots of questions about this as well. For example, people will say that, how do we know which is right? Because we don't have ilm, we don't have knowledge. And in the Quran, Surah Anbiya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, then ask the Ahlul Zikr, ask the people who knows. So, we don't know, we are going to the scholar of the madhab and we are asking them, so they are giving us the fatwas. What is the problem with that one? There is no problem. There is no problem going to the madhab. Similarly, there is no problem going to the local imam. Similarly, going to any person who knows Quran and Sunnah. Now, Ahl Zikr here means the knowledge of Quran and Sunnah, because Zikr, as Imam Shafi'i said, as Zikru here, Quran and Sunnah. So, Zikr includes Quran and Sunnah both, not only Quran. Lots of people think that Zikr means only Quran. No, Zikr also includes Sunnah as well, authentically proven hadith from the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you go to any person who knows, who has the knowledge of Quran and Sunnah, you can go to them, you can ask them, absolutely fine. Problem arises when you like someone, go to him, whatever he says, you take them blindly, and there is a hadith presented to you which is authentic that goes against the fatwa, you hesitate to take that. You say that no, I rather stick to my scholars because I have been following him so long. So then is the problem. may I go to the example of the mazhab, how the differences of opinion occurs. Now, there are lots of reasons why the mazhab were different. We are aware of 4 famous mazhab. In fact, there were hundreds of mazhabs. When we studied our fiqh, we learned about the methodology of 10 mazhabs, which were very famous at that time. Out of the 10 mazhabs, most of the other ones has fallen away because of political reasons and some other reasons. So we need to go and study the history of fiqh, history of mazhabs, to have our understanding growing. We cannot go on with the history of mazhab in here because time is limited. So I'll quickly focus on 1 or 2 reasons why they differ. During the time of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi, he used to be in Kufa, and then Imam Malik was in Medina. There were differences of lots of distance. Now, at that time, hadiths were not collected altogether. Hadith started to be written during the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time, but it didn't reach everywhere at that time. Also, in Kufa, that was the capital of fabricating hadith. So at that time, people started, after the fitna, they started to, fabricate hadith in favor of them. There were groups like Rafidis, Kharijis, and then different people, they wanted to fabricate hadith to support themselves. So plenty of hadiths were fabricated at that time. And Imam Abu Hanifa was in Kufa, where that was the capital of the fabrication of hadith. So to protect the fiqh, what Imam Abu Hanifa did, he made a condition on himself. He said that I'll only accept hadith which is at least mashhur. Now hadith, as in the last lecture, I said that there are 2 major categories of hadith. One is mutawatir, one is ahad. In ahad, there are 3 types of hadith. One is mashhur, which has at least 3 or more rabbis in every chain, and then there are aziz, which has at least 2 in every chain, and then the garib hadith, which is have at least 1. That means that if any of the chain has only 1 rabbi, that hadith is called garib. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, at that time, he wouldn't take any hadith which has in a chain has less than 3. Now, if we look at the famous hadith, we know that innamal a'malu binniyat. That hadith has been narrated to us by Umar radiallahu anhu himself only. There's only 1 sahabi in the chain. There is only 1 tabi in the chain, and that's a garib hadith. But that hadith is authentic, and it is, the meaning of it is like a mutawatir hadith. So that hadith is absolutely fine. But during that time, this sort of hadith, they wouldn't take it. There was a reason for that. He had a valid reason, but we don't have that valid reason right now, because for us, all the hadith has been clarified, which is sahih, which is not. We know now. We know. After 400, 300, 400, 500 years, most of the hadith has been stipulated, which is right, which is authentic, which is not. So Imam Abu Hanifa had a reason, but we don't. So he had a reason to base on his logic something other than a hadith. That's why he told that إِذَا سَحَى الْحَدِيثِ فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. That's what he said, that when the hadith gets sahih, that is my way. So lots of time he had to give reasoning on something which they didn't have any hadith to lean on. But then they used qiyas. And if you go to the methodology of the madhab, you will see different imam has a different category of reasoning. They will give preference. Some Imam Malik would give preference to the practices of Medina, where Imam Abu Hanifa would give preference to istihsan. Different ideology for different madhab. So they had their reasons, and that they cleared themselves that if something you get a sahih hadith, you get a hadith which is sahih, follow that. Imam Abu Hanifa also said to his students, Abu Yusuf, do not write from me, because today I say something, tomorrow I might say something else. So what they said, what they did, they have covered themselves. It is up to us, when we get the evidence, we stick to the evidence, not to a particular person. So that is very simple and straightforward. But some people will argue, some people say that the reason that madhab became mandatory, there was a reason. The reason was concerning the third group I mentioned about madhab. See, during the later period, about after 500 to 600 Hijrah, when the grouping came through, every madhab had a different base. They would fight for their madhab. They would rather die but not let their madhab to be wrong. So they were in a fighting mode. Now, at that time, there were some people who would shop around. So to protect that, the scholars then in the Uthmanian Khilafah, the scholars then decided that it is not permissible for you to move from one madhab to other. And if someone would do that, they will give them 70 or 80 lashes for that. So that was made haram at that stage. Later on, that was based on that current condition. Later on, blindness went further and further and further, and then they come up with ideas like the Hanafis cannot marry Shafi'is or such and such, and different extreme they went. Again, today we don't have that problem. We have the Quran and Hadith because the scholars has come out of that blindness. Now, if we think Imam Abu Hanifa or Imam Shafi or Imam Malik or Imam Ahmad or Imam Auza'i or Sufyan al-Thawri or anyone, they are not prophets. They are human. They may make mistakes. But whenever any blind followers, when I tell them that they may make mistake, your Imam Abu Hanifa may make mistakes, the answer I get that I don't think so. So a lot of people say that. So this is a very dangerous thing again. Only Allah has sent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam concerning the deen. He is the only person is infallible. The prophets are infallible, not normal human being. So Imam Abu Hanifa can make mistakes. Imam Shafi can make mistakes. So if we blindly follow someone, there is an element of problem. Secondly, there are differences, two types of differences. One, I'm talking about the differences which has valid reasons, not the differences of Ahle Qurans. They say that you only pray three times, because in Quran they didn't say 5 times pray. They said in Surah Hijr, pray in the morning, pray in the night, and during the day. So they would pray 3 times. What else they would do? They would stand, pray Surah Fatiha, Ruku, Sujud, and say Salam, because that's what in the Quran said. So they don't follow Hadith. So their argument is only follow Quran and only pray 3 times. So this is not an argument at all. We're not talking about this sort of differences. We are talking about the differences which the madhab had. They had the same aqidah. All the scholars of the madhab were united in the aqidah, except for little minor issues. And then in the fiqh areas they differed. And they differed for a reason. And the reason I stated, there are thousands of reasons. I stated one. Now, in terms of these 2 types of differences, differences might be something that it cannot occur in a scenario that both is right, or there are other differences that both can be right. For example, from ruku, when you go stand up from the ruku and go to the sujud, would you put your hands first or knee first? Now, there is a difference of opinion among the scholars about this. What do you do? There are authentic hadiths narrating that put your hands before the knees. There are authentic hadiths from the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying doing the knee first and then the hands. So there are evidences for both, and this thing can occur. Sometimes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam might have gone with the hands first. Sometimes he has gone with knee first. So this is a difference that can stay. However, there are other differences that cannot stay together. This is like the binary thing, 0 or 1. One or the other. Both cannot stay. For example, if you in the Quran there is a verse la yamassuhu. Now it's about the touching of the women. Imam Shafi had the opinion that if you touch a woman, any touch, just touched, your wudu will be invalid. So you have to do wudu again. Imam Ahmad and Imam Malik, they had the opinion that if you touch a woman on the sexual basis, then your wudu will be nullified. Imam Abu Hanifa, he had the opinion that only merely touching will not invalidate your wudu. Rather, this touching, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meant, is the sexual relationship. So there are three differences. Now, if you take Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Shafi'i's opinion, Imam Shafi'i said if you touch a woman, just you went along the road and a woman got touched. It was a crowd maybe. Then according to Imam Shafi'i, your wudu is broken. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, your wudu is not broken. Now, can both stay? No. There has to be one which is wrong and the other one is right. Wudu cannot be broken and not broken at the same time. So this is the differences. These are the types of the differences that cannot stay. So when the differences come, what do we do? According to verse 59, Surah Nisa, if there are differences, go back to the Quran and Sunnah if you believe in Allah and the last day. That's what Allah said. So we need to go back to the Quran and the Sunnah. Now if you look at the hadith, there is a hadith narrated authentically from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that after doing wudu, before going to the prayer, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to kiss his wives and then he didn't do the wudu again. So that is the proof that touching does not invalidate your wudu. So you have to then take the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa over Imam Shafi'i's opinion in that matter, because that is correct according to the Sunnah. On the other hand, there are thousands of, I'm saying thousand, that means that there are plenty of authentic narrations saying that the raising of the hands after the ruku has been done. So that is authentically proven. There is not a single hadith authentically proven against it. Imam Abu Hanifa said that you do not raise your hands after the ruku, which is called Raful Yadain. Where Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, Imam Hanbal said that you have to raise it, or that means that there's the Sunnah. Now there is a difference again, and if you go back to the Sunnah, you'll find that in this case, the other three, their opinion is more correct. So you take that one. So that's how the differences can be resolved. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us enough guidance to follow the Quran and Sunnah perfectly. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'anil azim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bima fihi min al-ayati wa dhikril hakim. Aqulu qawli hadha astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'iril muslimina wal muslimat fastaghfiruhu innahu ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah, assalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man istana bi sunnatihi ila yaumiddin. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alaihi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. اللهم انصر الإسلام اللهم انصر المسلمين وفي فلسطين وفي العراق وفي أفغانستان وفي برما وفي سوريا وفي مصر وفي نيجيريا وفي بنغلاديش وفي كشمير وفي كل مكان. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. أقيموا الصلاة.